cut contact with my abusive mother after she punched me in the face at a restaurant years later. She tried to take over my wedding, and now she's demanding access to my newborn daughter. I am 26 years old, and the relationship with my mother is all but extinct. The final thread holding it together was not cut by me in a dramatic moment, but was violently snapped by her own hand years ago in a pub. Now, with a newborn daughter in my arms, the echoes of that snap are a constant reminder of why I must protect my child from the woman who gave birth to me. Our story didn't start with that punch, but it was the point of no return. The roots of our decay go back to my middle school years. My mother was in a car accident, and her legitimate pain was treated with prescription pain. Our family's initial sympathy slowly curdled into dread as her dependency grew. She began taking more than prescribed, then sought out anything she could. The facade of our normal life crumbled completely during my 7th grade year when she overdosed at her job as a dental receptionist, passed out in the bathroom during her lunch. She was fired on the spot. Jobless and drowning in her addiction, she found a new target for her frustrations. Our morning drives to school became a daily tribunal where I was always found guilty. My clothes were terrible, my hair a mess, I was too skinny, I walked like a boy, I talked too much, I talked too little. There was no winning. My stepdad, Jack, a kind man who worked long hours in construction, was largely absent during. By the time he came home, my mother had masterfully shifted back into the role of a normal wife and mother, leaving me isolated in my. The restaurant incident when I was 14 cemented the reality of our situation. During a family dinner with my stepdad, sisters, grandparents, aunt, and cousin, my mother began criticizing a man for forgetting to send out party invitations. I gently corrected her, stating that it was actually my cousin Becky's friend who had. The response was instantaneous and brutal. Without a word, she punched me twice in the face with a closed fist. The world went silent. My stepdad grabbed her arm, my aunt rushed me to the bathroom to stem the bloody nose, and the public nature of the assault laid bare the private hell I was living. Becky, brave soul that she is, called Child Protective Services, but the social worker who visited was more interested in chatting with my charming mother than hearing the truth from a bruised child. At 15, when I started my period, my mother declared I was now a woman, and unceremoniously pulled me out of soccer and choir, deeming them unladylike. Stripped of my outlets and joy, I gained about 60 pounds over the next. The insult simply evolved to fit my new body. Now I was fat, disgusting, repulsive. She would stand outside my bedroom door for hours, hissing that no one would ever love me. I developed a survival skill I still possess today, the ability to completely tune out someone speaking directly to me, a dissociative focus so intense people often have to tap my shoulder to get. When she realized her words were no longer penetrating, her tactics became more sinister. She would lie in wait for me to leave my room, then follow me to the bathroom or kitchen, suggesting in a cold, flat voice that I should end my life because I was so worthless. This was the soundtrack to my high school years. After graduation, I reconnected with a high school friend, Ryan. We became roommates, both desperate to escape our home life. I was working in patient registration at a hospital, saving every penny. The final straw came when I walked into my bedroom and found my mother planting her pills in my dresser drawer, cursing under her breath. If those had been discovered in my possession, I would have lost my job and any future in health. The timing was divine. Ryan rang the doorbell moments later. He heard her screaming. I opened the door, and we left immediately to apartment hunt. We signed a lease that very afternoon. When I returned with the paperwork, the look on my mother's face was priceless, a mixture of shock and fury that I had actually found an escape. I moved out the next day, taking only my clothes and a few personal. For over a year, she had no idea where I lived. The peace was profound. In my new apartment with a gym, I started exercising again, lost the weight, made friends, started dating, and finally remembered what it felt like to be me. Then I met Daniel. He was everything I had been told I didn't deserve. His parents were kind and welcoming, a glimpse into a healthy family dynamic I had only seen on television. After 3 months of dating, my grandmother called, acting as a flying monkey for my mother. She insisted my mother had changed, felt terrible, and missed me. Against every screaming instinct in my body, I agreed to a tentative reconnect. It was a mistake. The first phone call was a masterclass in guilt tripping, focused on how I had abandoned my. A week later, she and my stepdad visited my apartment, bringing the dog as a prop. After she disappeared for 15 minutes, I found her rifling through. I ordered her out, and my stepdad, to his credit, immediately dragged her away. I banned her from my home for good. When Daniel proposed a year later, I made the error of calling my parents with the. Instead of congratulations, my mother launched into an interrogation about the wedding party. When I mentioned my cousin Becky as maid of honor, she exploded, threatening to end Becky if she. The background is key. Becky had also struggled with addiction, but, unlike my mother, had gotten clean and rebuilt her life. My mother's hatred stemmed from jealousy, and the fact that Becky wisely never allowed her unsupervised access. Terrified that my mother would actually harm Becky, Daniel and I made a radical decision. We had a private, legal ceremony with just us and an ordained. Daniel's parents signed as witnesses in secret. We then announced we were married, presenting it as a simple elopement. My mother, of course, blamed Becky for ruining her chance at a mother of the bride. A month later, Daniel's wonderful mother offered to host a casual reception. I saw a compromise, a low-pressure party where people could come and go. I arranged for Becky to come early to avoid my mother. When I called my mother to see if she wanted to help plan it, she agreed on one condition: Becky was banned. I finally drew my line in the sand. No, I said, if you're going to be this way, then you can't plan it or attend. She retaliated by forbidding my stepdad and sisters from going. I accepted her terms. The party would go on without her. Now, Daniel and I are ready to start a family. After a previous miscarriage, the desire for a child is intertwined with a fierce. I absolutely do not want my mother anywhere near my future. The thought of her inflicting even a fraction of the psychological damage on my child that she inflicted on me is my worst nightmare. This decision breaks my heart for my stepdad and sisters, whom I love deeply, and who may be kept at a distance as collateral damage. My plan is secrecy. I won't reveal which hospital I deliver at, and visitors will only be allowed once we are home and secure. I'd prefer to never tell my mother I'm pregnant, but I'm practical. I'm still on my stepdad's insurance as secondary coverage, and while she can't access specifics, she'll see billing for ultrasounds and OB visits. My greater fears are showing up at our house. We own our home and love it, but I will sell it and move if I must. My mother is a sick woman who needs help, but the one time I suggested rehab or therapy, she screamed until I hung up. My workplaces and personal hospitals are already flagged not to release any information to her, as she has a history of calling my doctors to mine for private detail. Recently, I laid my truth bare to my I told him I was done. He was supportive, confirming he would make time to see me without her and that my insurance was safe. I warned him that any family member who pressures me will be cut off, too. He is not blameless. When the abuse started, he did try to stand up to her, but she threatened to divorce him and take me away. As my biological father had abandoned me as a toddler, this was a credible threat. My stepdad did what he could until I turned 18, and then he truly became my ally. My question now is, how do I maintain these precious relationships with my stepdad and sisters while building an impenetrable wall between my new family and my... Update 1. Fortifying the boundaries. The support and validation I received after sharing my story solidified my resolve. I am not the problem. I am the survivor. I met my stepdad for lunch last week. The conversation was a watershed moment. He not only supports my decision, but revealed he had confronted my mother about her behavior. She, of course, dismissed it all, claiming I was exaggerating and too sensitive. He then delivered his first act of true defiance. Despite my mother's ban, he plans to attend the rescheduled reception with me. It's time I stopped allowing her to dictate who I can see, he said. A line that felt like a long overdue victory. We discussed the insurance issue, and he assured me of my security. I haven't told him about the pregnancy yet, stating simply that I wasn't ready to share certain things. Then, I asked the question that had haunted me for years. Why do you stay with her? His answer was heartbreakingly simple. She doesn't have anywhere else to go. I told him that wasn't his problem, and that I would fully support him if he left. The relief on his face was palpable. He then confessed he had wanted to file for divorce since my youngest sister turned 18. He stayed for us, to provide a semblance of stability, and now he was finally considering his freedom. He shared more about the past, how he would confront my mother behind closed doors, and how she threatened him with divorce when he suggested. He also explained their financial downfall. We moved to a mobile home because my mother had been pocketing the mortgage money he gave her, leading him to cut off her access to their... After our lunch, my sisters called. Both affirmed they would choose a relationship with me over our mother. My younger sister, Emma, still living at home, said our mother has become increasingly volatile. She asked for my help finding an apartment, and we spent a joyful Saturday looking at places near me. She found one and is applying today. In the most wonderful news, Daniel and I are pregnant. I'm 8 weeks along, and we saw a strong heartbeat on the ultrasound, a moment of pure, tearful joy after our previous loss. Our plan for the baby is taking shape. We'll announce the birth only after we're home. My stepdad and sisters will be the first invited visitors. We've installed security cameras and spoken to our vigilant neighbors, who have promised to alert us if they see my mother. The family pressure has begun. My grandmother texted, preaching forgiveness because she's the only mother you'll ever have. I didn't engage. Surprisingly, my Aunt Leslie, who witnessed the restaurant punch, called to defend my decision, apologize for not doing more when I was young, and offer her full support. The reception is in a few weeks. I'm nervous, but focused on celebrating with the family I've chosen. Update 2. The reception and the reckoning. The reception happened, and it was both beautiful and dramatic, serving as a catalyst for everything that followed. First, Emma successfully moved into her apartment, and we now have family dinners with my stepdad and sisters, a peaceful, happy experience I never thought possible. At the reception, Becky came and went early, avoiding conflict. My stepdad and sisters arrived without my mother, who had thrown a tantrum, physically blocking the door before they simply walked around. The party itself was lovely until the inevitable disruption. My mother, appearing intoxicated, showed up uninvited. Daniel and his father blocked her entry, and my stepdad quickly joined them, firmly escorting her away. Most guests were none the wiser. That moment was my stepdad's breaking point. After the party, he told me he was filing for divorce. Seeing her try to sabotage another milestone was the final straw. He has retained a lawyer. Now for the pregnancy. I'm 16 weeks along, showing clearly, and we found out we're having a girl. We shared the joyful news with my stepdad and sisters after the reception, and their excitement was overwhelming. The peace was short-lived. My mother discovered the pregnancy, likely through my grandmother, and unleashed a torrent of abusive texts and calls from blocked numbers, which I immediately blocked. She then showed up at my workplace, but security, already briefed, escorted her out. The most frightening incident was discovering all 4 tires on my car slashed. There's no proof, but the timing is undeniable. We filed a police report. This escalation has us seriously considering moving before the baby arrives. In a stunning act of support, my stepdad, who is moving out for the divorce, suggested we look for a house with a guest suite where he could live temporarily, acting as an additional layer of security and support. I am now under the care of a high-risk pregnancy specialist who has taken my stress and privacy concerns seriously. The restraining order paperwork is on my desk, ready to be filed. The battle lines are drawn, but my chosen army is standing with me. Update 3. Olivia's arrival and a new beginning. My daughter Olivia is 3 weeks old. She is healthy, perfect, and the embodiment of why I fought so hard to break. We kept her birth a secret until we were safely home from the hospital. We decided against moving, instead fortifying our home with a comprehensive alarm system, more cameras, and reinforced locks. Our neighbors remain our watchful allies. My stepdad's divorce is ongoing and contentious. He moved into his own apartment 2 months ago. My mother is refusing to cooperate, playing the victim, and demanding alimony. She discovered Olivia's birth through social media posts from my sisters and launched a new campaign of harassment. She sent a large, uninvited gift, which I immediately donated. Then, she showed up at my door while I was alone with the baby, pounding and screaming about her right. I called my stepdad, who came immediately, and convinced her to leave by threatening the police. That was the final straw. We filed for a restraining order. With evidence of a tire slashing, the workplace intrusion, the porch confrontation, and statements from my family, the judge granted a temporary order. The hearing for a permanent one is next month. My mother has retaliated with a smear campaign, telling relatives I'm unstable and keeping her granddaughter from her out of spite. Most see through it. She left a weeping voicemail for Daniel, claiming sobriety and begging for a second chance. A lie my stepdad confirmed. Daniel deleted it. My grandmother pushed for a supervised visit, but I stood firm. Nothing has changed. There has been no accountability, no rehab, no genuine remorse. Amidst the chaos, my support system shut. Emma and Lily are doting Ann. Daniel's parents are perfectly respectful. My stepdad visits daily, his presence a steady comfort. He told me that watching me become a mother has only affirmed his decision to leave. He sees the love and safety I provide, a stark contrast to what I endure. I am on maternity leave, adjusting to the beautiful, exhausting reality of motherhood. Looking into Olivia's eyes, I have zero doubt that my decision. The cycle of abuse ends with me. The hearing for the permanent restraining order looms, but I am no longer the scared girl being punched in her. I am a mother, a wife, and a survivor. My focus is on Olivia, on love, and on the peaceful home we have. Our story is one of breaking chains and building a new legacy, and for that, every bit of the fight was worth. Story 2, the father who chose everyone else. Part 1, the plea for help. My father, at 52, has perfected the art of choosing his romantic partners over his children. But his latest act of prioritization has cost him everything, and now he's on my doorstep, begging my 19-year-old sister, Emily, and me, 25, for the help he so rarely offered us. The pattern started early. My parents' volatile marriage ended when I was 4, and my mom moved across the country. My dad remarried quickly to a woman named Mary. I was 6, and desperate for a mother figure, but I quickly learned I was an obstacle to their happiness. I remember being 12 and spilling grape juice on Mary's white blouse, an accident caused by our cat. Instead of defense or comfort, my father stood silent as she berated me for what felt like an eternity. Later, he told me, "We have to keep Mary happy. She's the most important person in this family." That sentence became the thesis of my childhood. When my sister Emily was born, I, a child myself, became her default caregiver. Dad was always working or with Mary. One night, when Emily was 3 and burning with fever, I begged them for help. They told me to handle it. I stayed up all night, terrified, cooling her with cloths. In the morning, Dad praised my responsibility without a hint of irony or apology. When Mary left him for her yoga instructor when I was 16, his devastation didn't bring him closer to us. It launched him into a frantic cycle of work and dating. Our home became a revolving door of women we were expected to charm. Some were indifferent. Others, like Tiffany, who accidentally broke my favorite mug, a gift from my mom, were subtly cruel. Dad always took their side. I moved out at 18 for college, taking Emily with me when she was 16 after I caught one of his girlfriends reading her diary. He barely noticed we were gone, his monthly calls usually consisting of complaints about his love life or requests for money. Then, 2 years ago, he met Melissa. At 34, she was closer to my age than his. Initially, she seemed different, making an effort with us. But Dad changed. He became her shadow, canceling plans with us last minute and demanding we respect her as a new mom. The ultimate betrayal was at Emily's high school graduation. He had promised to be there, and Emily had saved him a seat. He never showed, never called. He was on a cruise with Melissa. I found Emily sobbing in the bathroom, still in her cap and gown. That was our breaking point. We told him we were done being his second choice. He called us selfish and ungrateful. We haven't spoken in over a year. Last week, he appeared at my apartment, a broken man. He was unkempt, disheveled, and smelled of despair. Through tears, he confessed that Melissa had been cheating on him for months and, when confronted, laughed and admitted she was only with him for him. She kicked him out. The devastating punchline? In a grand gesture of trust, he had put her name on the deed. He had drained his savings, over $50,000, on her lavish lifestyle. He lost his house, his savings, and even his car, which was in her. He was homeless and begging to stay with us, invoking family and he weaponized fragmented, happy memories from our childhood, teaching me to ride a bike, helping Emily with a project, as if they could erase years of neglect. Emily is rightfully furious and wants nothing to do with him. A part of me agrees, this feels like karmic justice. But another part, the little girl who still wants her dad, feels a crushing. Am I a terrible daughter if I turn him away? And if I let him in, will he just abandon us again when the next woman smiles his way? Update 1. The cautious compromise. After much deliberation, Emily and I agreed to meet our father at a neutral coffee shop. We laid our pain on the table. I recounted the juice incident, the canceled plans, the neglect. Emily, with a courage that stunned me, described crying herself to sleep, wondering why he didn't love her enough. She reminded him of the school play she was the lead in at age 10. He never showed, having gone to a concert with a girlfriend instead. She never tried out for another play. At first, he was defensive, but as Emily spoke, he deflated. He cried, a raw, unfamiliar emotion from him, and apologized, admitting he had been selfish and stupid. He revealed how Melissa had manipulated him, isolating him, and convincing him we were the problem. She had even convinced him to retire early, then systematically bled his accounts dry. He also confessed to a lifelong struggle with depression and a deep-seated feeling of inadequacy as a father, stemming from his own neglectful, alcoholic father. We arrived at a difficult, structured compromise. We would not let him move in, but we would not leave him destitute. The conditions were strict. 1. We would help him pay the first month's rent on a small studio apartment. 2. He had 30 days to find a job. Any job. 3. Mandatory weekly family counseling. 4. No dating for at least 6 months. 5. 1 violation and we were done. He agreed to everything. We helped him move into his sparse apartment and took him thrift shopping for basics. He is applying for jobs relentlessly, even accepting a potential night shift at a warehouse. Emily is deeply skeptical, participating for my sake, which burdens me with guilt. Our first counseling session was intense, dredging up decades of hurt. But Dad is trying. He's open in therapy and sends me his job applications to a role reversal that feels both strange and hopeful. I am cautiously optimistic, but I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, for the charming, neglectful man to reemerge. Update 2. Small steps in a major task. A month has passed, and Dad found a job as a night stalker at a grocery store. He's paying his rent, and even saving a little. The counseling sessions remain emotionally grueling but productive. Dad shared a painful memory of me as a 5-year-old, crying for my mom after the divorce. Instead of comforting me, he yelled at me to stop, a moment he now recognizes was him projecting his own. Emily is slowly engaging. She even laughed at one of his corny jokes recently, a tiny but significant crack in her armor. The progress faced a direct test when Dad ran into Melissa at a store. She mocked his job and then tried to woo him back. Shaken, he called me immediately for support instead of succumbing. He said, "I never want to risk losing you again." Emily, however, was thrown back into anxiety by this incident, convinced he would relax. It took significant reassurance. He's making more of an effort in our lives, remembering my birthday with a handmade card and a lopsided cake. We have awkward but improving family dinners at my place. He's a terrible cook, but the effort matters. Emily has agreed to let him attend one of her college volleyball games, a monumental step. I remain hopeful but guarded. Trust, once shattered, is a slow, painstaking mosaic to Update 3. Progress, not perfection. 3 months on, our fragile new dynamic holds. Dad was promoted to shift supervisor and is building friendships with coworkers, a healthy first. Therapy has been revelatory. He opened up about his chaotic childhood, being forced to care for his siblings while his father was on drinking. He vowed to break the cycle, but ended up creating his own version of neglect. The biggest breakthrough involved Emily. In a session, she fully expressed the devastation of him missing her graduation. He broke down and offered a sincere, specific apology that she finally felt was genuine. It was a turning point for them. We recently went on a camping trip, his idea, reminiscent of happier times from our early childhood. It was flawed. He forgot the repellent and singed his eyebrows starting the fire, but it was filled with genuine, shared laughter. There are still challenges. He was tempted when an old girlfriend approached him at a bar, but he called me afterward, reaffirming his commitment to us. Emily's trust is still tentative. She worries every time he doesn't immediately answer his phone. But overall, we are moving forward. We are planning to celebrate his 6 months of sobriety. He wasn't a heavy drinker, but he has abstained completely. It's a symbol of his commitment to change. Our family is not fixed. The wounds are deep, and the scars are visible. But for the first time in our lives, our father is not running away. He is staying, he is trying, and for now that is enough. We are building something new, one cautious, complicated day at a time.